So I've done an episode, the best iPhones you can buy in August 2025. I did that a few days ago. Today we're going to cover the worst iPhone choices, I would say, for the month of August 2025. So let's find out which ones those are in this video. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I want to make one thing very clear. Most of these iPhones here are just fine. They all work fine, and iPhones are, well, they're just iPhones. They work, and I bought all of them over the several years that I've been doing YouTube videos, and these were fine for the time. Most of them are really great, actually, but some of these here are just not a good choice as of right now. I'm also going to use a couple to talk about some other phones because I did get rid of a few of them, and I'll tell you what those are later. We'll start with the very first one. That's going to be the Apple iPhone 12. Now the iPhone 12 here, the reason why this is going to go as my very first one as the worst phone to buy right now is because, well, it's just an old iPhone. You know, you can get these pretty darn cheap right now, and they do have a generally the same shape and look as an even iPhone 16e. But the truth is that these phones right here are just rather old at this point. So they're not really great choices. While they do work okay, they have pretty atrocious battery. They don't last very long. It's probably going to kick out right here because I didn't charge this enough, but they don't last that long anymore. And while they still have the same, believe it or not, 60 hertz as the newer iPhones, the thing is that the iPhone 12 just doesn't have the best cameras, battery life, or performance anymore. It gets pretty warm under heavy use. So I would say the iPhone 12 series definitely going to be the first one to get the boot here in this video. So let's just get that out of the frame right now. So the very next one is going to be the iPhone 12 mini. Now, I actually don't own the 12 mini anymore. I actually got rid of that a few years ago just because the 13 mini here was so much better. And this was actually in my list for the best iPhones you can buy here in 2020. So I covered this one just because it's just a compact king. What a legend here the iPhone 13 mini is. So this is one I do recommend, but it's the predecessor, the iPhone 12 mini, is one I do not recommend. So I'm just using this as a placeholder. But the reason the 12 mini is not recommended is because of battery life woes, just like the iPhone 12 came out in the pandemic era. And this phone, the 12 mini, is just not one that I would recommend. Again, it's 13 mini. I'm just using it to talk about that phone, but 12 mini definitely going to be one I would put under the list as one of the worst to get right now for sure. So I wouldn't even entertain the iPhone 12 mini if I was you. Now, the next one might ruffle a few feathers because a lot of people love this phone. It was a king of its time, and it's still in the hands and in the pockets of a lot of people. This is the iPhone 13. Now, I literally just charged it. It died before we could turn it on here. But the iPhone 13 base model is one I don't recommend getting no more. Reason being is you can find a 14 at the same price, but the 14, kind of the same phone, was one of the most boring iPhone releases I've ever seen. But the 15 is better, and that's getting cheaper as well. You can get the 16 after the 17 launch event here, and it's going to be a little bit cheaper as well. This is just not a great choice anymore. Still a very usable, functional, and good phone right now. So I'm not saying it's like a horrible phone. When I say worst iPhones to buy, I don't mean these are the worst phones. I mean they're the worst to buy right now, like if you didn't purchase one. And so the iPhone 13, I think if you're looking for a budget way to try out the ecosystem, it's not a problem. But I'm saying if you're looking for a long-term phone to buy right now, this is not going to be your best option because it's been upgraded so many times already. The cameras are really good. The actual display performance on this phone was also very good. And it just, this one really held up very well. Just the only issue is right now it's been upgraded several times over, and it's just not the absolute best choice anymore. So I'm going to kick that one out of the lineup too. We got a few more to talk about here before we get out of this video. And I'm going to go on with my next one, which is going to be the iPhone SE3, third generation. So classic look, right? We do have the bezels of the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 8. This kind of feels like an iPhone 8. Very, very old classic look here, but at the same time, a lot of people loved this Touch ID and this design, and they were kind of mad when Apple got rid of it with the iPhone 16e. but that's obviously a better phone. We know that from spec sheet. But this one is just not an amazing purchase right now because it has some not great battery life, just a single camera. And while it's a functional phone, there's no substantial issue with it. A15 Bionic in here. I mean, that chip is pretty powerful still. The 4 gigs of RAM is not going to let you multitask effectively if you want to go between several apps at a time. The 4 gigs of RAM will close some stuff out, and then you'll have to relaunch the application. That is an issue you'll run into with this phone. But for just casual users, it's functional. Like it works, but buying it now just doesn't really make sense because, again, you could just spend a little more, or you can just look for a 16E when the 17s come out. Maybe you'll find that cheaper. You can also find like a 15 for probably a good price. So this one to me, just hard, very, very hard to put this on a list of recommendations. Although it was the last of the classic iPhones and it did have a purpose, but now with the 16E out, some of the 15s and the 14s getting cheaper, this one just it just doesn't math. It doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna have to call this one of the worst buys in August of 2025. The 3rd generation with a small screen, small battery. It just comes with too many compromises here, I think, at this point. However, if you're looking for minimalism and you want compromises, that could be an option for you if that's what you're doing. But we're talking about people who are in the smartphones and want to upgrade, or they don't even have to be in the smartphones. They just want a phone that is very useful in modern life. Let's talk about the next one. I'm actually just going to use the 16 Plus because I dumped this phone. The Plus models, I'm just going to use this as one of them. And I'm actually going to say pause on this one as well, because while the 16 Plus is a very good phone, it's one of the current phones you can buy today. The 15 Plus, the 14 Plus, and the 16 Plus are ones I would all recommend waiting on because of this reason. They're probably going to go to the Air and dump this Plus model. And if that becomes thinner and lighter, but still large, it could take the place of this. Some people are worried about the single camera, but they might be doing this thing where you crop in on the sensor and, you know, some AI stuff or some processing that's just going to make the photos really good, even though it's a single camera. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But if you do want a dual camera, this is still going to be a good option. But it's the 14 Plus. I would steer clear of the 15 Plus as well, because both of those don't support the Apple Intelligence that right now isn't the best in the market, but eventually will start to get better as the years go on, but it's not great right now. The 16 Plus, on the other hand, is one that I wouldn't call the worst to buy in August 2025, but it's probably going to be maybe a regretful choice if you don't wait till the event. The 16 Plus is one that might be a really good option when we see what happens, because if those phones don't impress the Airs, then you pick up this one after the fact, and you're still going to get a great battery life. You're going to get good performance, actually really good performance, very snappy, polished applications, and it might be a really fun choice to pick up if they fail to impress here in September. So the 16 Plus it's a wild card, but 15 Plus, 14 Plus, of those models, I would skip those. I'd call those some of the worst picks because they're just better iPhone choices for similar prices, including 15 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max, for example. The next one is the 14 base model. Now they have the same design as the 12 and the 13. I actually dumped my 14 base model a while ago. I really didn't love that phone too much. It did perform pretty well on the channel for video comparison. Some people liked it, but I generally didn't really love the phone, so I had to get rid of it. These right here, though, they got the same design as the 14, and that's one I just don't want to recommend as one of the not great purchases. There's a lot of compromises with the base 14. It just doesn't have the best performance. It still has lightning like these two. It doesn't have the better upgrade of design like the iPhone 15 had. So definitely I would say that the 14 base is one of the ones that I would just not recommend right now. We're not going to give that a lot of talk though. Let's get on to these next ones. So the next one is going to be the iPhone 16. The iPhone 15 is not. These are again another pausing option. I would say pause on to see what comes, because this is a wild card. If they don't put that promotion, which many people believe they will, we'll see what happens though. If they don't put the promotion, this could be a steal next month. So the iPhone 16 is a pause and wait for me. It's a wild card option, kind of like the 16 Plus, to see what they do. But for now, it's a really good phone. You're not going to go wrong if you pick one up. It does have a great camera, nice design, camera control button. It does have USB-C. It's smooth. It feels premium, except for the promotion or the lack of promotion. But this one and the 15 are a pause option for me. I'd wait to see what comes. I wouldn't call them necessarily horrible picks, but it's not a great time to buy one of those until we see what happens. So I'm going to say pause on that one. Now this one is going to ruffle quite a few feathers, and I've been very, very praising this phone over the past several years. This is the 13 Pro Max. Now, I'm not saying just the 13 Pro Max is the worst buy, because it's never been a worst buy. It's a goated phone, honestly. It really is. It really did everything well. It had an amazing screen, an amazing camera all across the board. It was so polished, really no bugs when this phone came out, and it still performs good. Also, well, it does have a lightning port, which I don't love. The phone itself is still an absolute beastly feeling phone. However, it is lacking the 8 gigs of RAM, the 12 gigs of RAM, and the Pro has been refined time and time again, with the 14 Pro Max bringing a 48 megapixel, the titanium 15 Pro Max thinning things out and making it lighter, while also having really good battery life, and then the 16 Pro Max just all around bigger, better battery life. To me, now it does after the updates. The 13 Pro Max was probably better at the time, but these phones in 2025, the 13 Pro Max, the older iPhone Pro phones are probably not great options anymore. So I would say anything below 13 Pro Max and below are not the best choices. The only reason the 13 mini got in this list are in the best list is because of its unique nature. But they've been upgrading those other products. So most of the 13 series and below, it's time to say goodbye. This is the year, I would say, for the big jumps. However, if you're looking for foldable iPhones, that's something you might want to wait till next year. In addition, if you're looking for even bigger redesigns with all screen looks, that is something you're probably not going to get this year either. So you do got to weigh that into your decision-making process. So that completes my list of the worst iPhones to buy in August 2025. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, none of these phones are bad phones. They all did good. They're all Apple iPhones. They're all premium. Just some of them are just not great value options when you consider what is available and what you can get at the same price. And something I'm going to cover soon is the 14 Pro Max. I haven't been giving that no attention in the past 2 videos, so stay tuned for that. But if you like to see what are my favorite options or the best options to buy in August 2025, I'll link that down below. You could check that out. That one will discuss what is a great option. And also, really, it comes down to, when it comes to waiting, it comes down to, do you really want that new changed camera design that we're likely going to see? In addition, do you want an Air phone or just a more specced out 16 Pro Max, 16 Pro to the 17 Pro and Pro Max? That's the real wait there. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Let me know your thoughts, comments down below in the comment section. Let's have a chat about this. And thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Nick here. Be sure to be well. I'll catch you on the next episode, and peace.